An excerpt from Continual Self Exorcism by Jon Zaremba. As the contrast between dream and reality became increasingly stark, so too did Aoner's spirit. Waning tolerance of the familiar's care escalated to downright disobedience of their prescriptions, as the fever of anger became too hot for the colorful shadows to treat. Before they could conspire with their sorcerers, and before Gak-Rud could respond in placation to Aoner's slow severance from the world, his mind recalled the shimmering object curiously positioned in his chambers.
Gak-Rud, know this. The sword is mine, and when I again raise my head from this cushion, it shall be for the final time,
Aoner declared aloud to Gak-Rud. It had been so long that he'd spoken that the sound of his own voice startled him. The world did not respond. An overwhelming deluge of memories, true memories, not fanciful recollection, flooded Aoner's consciousness. He knew that he was once a swordsman, a proud warrior, and a man of conquest. In response to his confirmed recollection, Aoner commanded a depth of water greater than the seas upon which he was previously adrift to smother every sensation but one: anger. Anger for the high priests who placed him within the castle walls, his familiars, their mystics and sorcerers, Gak-Rud, and most importantly, anger for his self. The folly of complacency that led to Aoner's predicament was made perfectly apparent to him. Aoner identified and shouted the true names of every familiar. Each name was a multisyllabic compound word of such complexity that few could pronounce. Aoner's articulation ceased their incessant advisory, and, one by one, the familiars were made tangible. Their colors quickly faded as each was reduced to a tiny pile of chalk. Aoner commanded the deluge to drown what remained. The granules fizzled as they were absorbed by the oceanic glory of Aoner's legacy.
Anger is justified of the insolvent. Are you not but an innocent victim of circumstance beyond your control?
Gak-Rud's voice pandered. Aoner redefined the perished familiars that were bestowed unto him by the high priests. No longer would he consider them to have been misguided advisors. Instead, he appraised his afflictors as nothing short of manipulative accusers. Their influence was malevolent to the degree that their intentions sacrificed his spirit to something greater, to the world. And their guidance was evil to the extent that it steered him closer to Gak-Rud's passive predation, the extent of which was boundless. The awakening swordsman finally understood the difference between a broken body and a broken mind, as Aoner recanted Gak-Rud's original proposition.
Gak-Rud, the mind is not bound by physiology. It is a flower, rooted in its own soil and watered by its own thoughts. It blossoms by the light of consciousness, astral warmth.
Aoner answered the world's first question before continuing to answer its second.
Yes, I was indeed a victim. And as I once firmly understood, and do so again, the victim is to blame for his circumstances. It was I who invited the familiars into my chambers. It was I who permitted both their influence and accusations. I forfeited my spirit to your vampiric thirst. I was a victim of myself. What is the meaning of life, Aoner?
Gak-Rud asked the most prosaic of questions before adding,
And furthermore, what say you if I proclaim there is none?
Aoner considered Gak-Rud's added proposition. He concluded that if there were no meaning to life, that he should deal himself the same degree of compassionate euthanasia that he intended for the world. However, it was impossible for the awakening swordsman to commit to such a spiritual framework for one reason. Aoner knew that it was he who permitted his victimhood and liberation. He created justification for both. and that justification begat meaning to both outcomes.
Gok-Rud, to you I say, justification. The meaning of life is to justify one's own existence to existence. To the world I assert that I have a reason to be. Rue unto the Wanglers and their deceitful schemes of fraudulent advisory. And to you, Gok-Rud, should you dare thwart my will.
I agree,
spoke Gok-Rud. His words were delivered as spastic bursts of white that struck Aoner with blinding pain until he realized that he had yet to see.